afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Senator, Honorable Judges present here today, distinguished members of the legislature, and all of the special guests. What a beautiful day, and how beautiful is this occasion to spend time together on the very first day of 2023. So, Happy New Year, many blessings and peace and happiness throughout the course of the year. My name is Regis Pecos, and I come from Cochiti Pueblo. I've served a number of terms there as governor, as lieutenant governor, and a member of the tribal council for over 35 years. And it's been my pleasure to serve as the chair of our distinguished Attorney General to be sworn in today, as I have in his previous victory to become District Attorney of Albuquerque. I want to take just a minute or so to provide context before we share an invocation together. Raúl and I and Nasha have shared a very significant part of our life journey together. My wife and I had the honor and the privilege to be witness to the baptism of your first child, Luna. And when I saw her earlier, I said, I remember you when you were this high. And I said, no, I remember you when you were like this. And it was in a beautiful church in northern New Mexico. And then, in reciprocating for that last opportunity in sharing our faith together, Raúl and his son came to celebrate one of the most intimate Pueblo ceremonies in Cochiti when you were just this high. And it has been that kind of a reciprocal relationship. And then some years later, when I served as the Chief of Staff to the late Speaker Ben Lohan, one of the things we did was to intentionally bring young Native, young Hispanic, young professionals of color into that circle of tremendous political power in this legislative process, to give exposure to some of the young men and women who demonstrated brilliance in their early careers. And so it was that Raúl and I spent many times with the late speaker and many of our distinguished and legendary members of the body together in that circle of power, discussing complex policy, legislative issues. And then later, Raúl and I visited with the presidents of our indigenous nations, with governors, again to talk about policies and laws affecting indigenous peoples here and across the country at the federal level. And then when he became district attorney, I had the opportunity again to sit with him and his brilliant team of just incredible people who he has had a relationship in his professional life to be part of that transition. But the reason why I wanted to provide this context is because in his distinguished career, serving in some really extraordinary places, from here to the White House and every prominent position here in our state, I wanted to share just a little bit, because throughout all of these different contextual settings, one thing has been constant. And it is his core values that has guided his personal life as a husband, as a father, and as our elders teach us that core values are the gifts of those who love us deeply, to guide us in our lives, and our elders also teach us that your core values at the most personal level never changes when you move into your place of work. And your core values, as I reflect our relationship over time, has always been about love for your wife and your family, respect that you accorded everyone who crossed your path in work, in your various capacities. That it also has been the compassion that you show people with the kind of passion that has been the standard that you have displayed in your professional career. But it also is a reflection of the tremendous dignity and integrity which I have seen you treat everyone across our shared journey and time together. And this comes from the family gifting you these core values from both sides. And I wanted to share that with you because as we reflect upon our time together in the past, as your staff has with you in their time together, in your leadership and service, it also epitomizes what you bring in this time of our present, and what that will lead to with great expectations about the future of your leadership and your service, guided by these essential core values that I cherish in how you have displayed them and how you have shared it from your personal life to all the personal relationships that you have nurtured along your career. So I wanted to begin with that because as we prepare for the swearing in of 32nd Attorney General of this state, in the 111 years of statehood, imagine only 32 would have been called to serve and lead in such a prominent place in New Mexico history. And I see a former Attorney General here who I have the deepest respect for your time and service, following in your footsteps and your colleagues over the time of attorneys general who have served our great state. You all represent and epitomize the great citizens that we have been blessed with in our history. And so he follows in a similar line of people with great wisdom and leadership, but want to remind all of us, as all of you in your relationships with Raúl at a personal level, as family, at a professional level, as colleagues, I hope you will all agree that these are the elements of his character that he has blessed us with as he steps into service to continue to provide for being a steward, being a guardian, a caretaker looking after the interests of all of the people from all walks of life that we share together to call New Mexico home. And so I wanted to provide that context as I ask all of you to please stand as I offer an invocation to thank your families, your friends, to the larger community, your professional colleagues, to say thank you for being blessed. Being blessed to bring someone of your character, of your caliber into this role as the next Attorney General. So we ask that the Creator provide faith, provide the graciousness with which to serve, kindness and respect, and compassion with which you will carry out the duties in the service of our people. So in Torrez, I will offer this prayer to give thanks and to ask for blessings as well. And in the Torrez way, for the Pueblo people, cornmeal is what we use to pray with. Our elders teach us that if we care for our mother corn, we shall never starve physically, and we will never starve spiritually. So this is what we use to pray with, and I will offer this prayer. And asish asha usha chamish kutstil. Mio han kutsayom kuhu duna. You go not to have to sit there with that. Goats in Raúl, Torrez, Coco, Nasha, Luna, Katuna, Kahn. As a easy young, you caution, as a young, you catch showing truth. She do it, eat, booty, coaty, hotty, eat. As a young, you catch showing truth. Mr. Sam, you got well, Josh, that Ian, each of us. If you all go like this, I want to share something special as we conclude this prayer this morning, asking for blessings for Raúl, his family, for all of you, for all of us. In Pueblo ways, when we finish praying, we bring both hands to our mouth and inhale, and then with both hands open, forward that spiritual breath of prayers and blessings to our next Attorney General. Thank you so much for engaging. It's one of those special things as we come to this place that is called and referred to by the Tewa people as Oye Oye. The place that is the crossroads of indigenous peoples. And then the crossroads of those who came from Spain, the crossroads of those who came from Mexico. And the crossroads that have come since those times, that all of us here today that call this place home are really blessed as a result of the communion of those cultures that makes New Mexico such a special place that we all share to be blessed to call home. So I want to recognize all those who have gone before us, who have journeyed and used this as the crossroads of the beginning of all of the gifts that make this place in the land of enchantment such a spiritual place, because of the cultural communion of the many people coming through, sharing all that we are today. So with that, I want to call on the Honorable Judge Jim Wexler, who is the father-in-law and the former New Mexico Court of Appeals judge, to do the swearing in of the 32nd Attorney General of the state of New Mexico.
I, Raúl Torrez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of
discharge the duties of
the office of New Mexico Attorney General,
the office of New Mexico Attorney General,
on which I am about to enter,
on which I am about to enter,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I would now invite Nasha to come forward for her remarks.
Hello and thank you. Bienvenidos, thank you for being here. Raúl said, do you want to say something? And typically I'm like, no, I'm good. But this is like a second part of it almost feels like our wedding all over again. And it felt like this would be the time, right, to thank everybody and to tell you how honored we are. When I first met Raúl, he didn't want to spook me, so he wasn't telling me all the plans in his head, because he always has plans. But when he started working in Valencia County as a district attorney, he was so proud to start that job in the same place where his dad had started as a prosecutor. And he lit up by doing that job. And then when that job was coming to a close, we went to an event for Attorney General Patricia Madrid, who's here today too. And she saw Raúl and I, and she says, hey, what are you doing? He said, well, I might be looking for a job. She said, come work for me. And we tried to be cool, like in the moment. We're like, yeah, cool, okay. And we got to the car, and we were like two nerdy fangirls. It was like, oh my gosh, the Attorney General, one knows who you are, and two just offered you a job. And we thought, and I knew then, once he started in that job, I knew that this was his dream. And when he wanted to run for office, I went to my best friend, Julie Heinrich, who's like my mentor in many ways, and her Danish, God rest his soul, who was also my mentor in many ways. And I was like, what is this like? And he tried to tell me, but no one can really tell you. So what I will tell you is that if you love someone, truly love them with all of your heart, then help them achieve their dreams. And as I look out into this crowd, I see all these people who truly love us and who have helped us achieve this dream. And I was telling Raúl this morning, I was trying not to be nervous or freak out or cry. But our families have been in New Mexico for centuries. And most of us didn't even have the opportunity to work in this building, let alone to be sworn in this building, to have a job like this. And it's not lost on me, and I know it's not lost on you, and it's definitely not lost on my poor family that had to go to every parade with us. I'm not lying, in northern Mexico for a while, there was just my cousins. I have a lot of cousins, but still. Our families were just so good to us, and our friends were so good to us. It was things like, you know, when we were like eating Cheerios, like our friend Pat Susanna bought us dinner, just showed up with dinner. Are you serious? Like when we would have a meet and greet in a small town, you guys came, and you made your friends come, and your cousins come. And you hosted fundraising events, and you helped us get petition signatures. And you just gave us a hug and told us we were going to be okay, when sometimes it felt like maybe we weren't. And so to all of you, I'm so grateful that you can help us do this. And I'm so grateful to my sweet husband that he gets to do this. And I have a feeling we're still going to need your support. So, even who knows what it is. And from my little family to this bigger family, just thank you with our whole hearts. Thank you.
To all of the leaders, men and women, a husband cannot do it alone, right? And to the wives, similarly. Our elders teach us that when the Creator brings you together into union as one with one heart, what Nasha just shared and articulated so beautifully, emotionally, that is how it's supposed to be. Reciprocating the mutual love and respect for each to be able to fulfill his or her dream. And many of you epitomize that are here today. So to the spouses, thank you for blessing your husbands. To the wives, similarly, it takes two with one heart, one mind, one spirit. And it's my honor to introduce the 32nd Attorney General of the state of New Mexico, Mr. Raúl Torrez.
I want to start this afternoon by thanking the Speaker of the House for allowing the Torrez family to host a small family reunion here in the He may have thought differently if he understood that my dad by himself has 10 siblings, and so for those of you in the back without seats, I really do apologize. We promised each of you to make this as short and sweet as we possibly can. But I would be remiss if I didn't start first and foremost by thanking the most important person in my life, my extraordinary wife, Nasha. I cannot tell you how many times I've been to different communities across the state, northern New Mexico, in Las Cruces, in Santa Fe, and people are always quite warm and welcoming, and usually the very first thing out of their mouth is where's Nasha? And that is because she has just an incredible spirit and an incredible natural love for everyone, for absolutely everyone. And her belief in her family and in her community and in this place is unwavering. And I couldn't have done any of this without you. To Luna and Paitan, who I don't think really knew what they were getting signed up for. They have been an extraordinary foundation for me and motivation for me. And for my extended friends and family, for my parents, and for the many generations who have come before, who are not able to be present with us today. I want to say that this moment is for all, that I recognize, and I know Nasha recognizes, that the things that we've been able to achieve are really just a reflection of the gifts that we've been given by extraordinary people. The Bible that I just placed my hand upon to take this oath is the family Bible of my grandmother Sabina. And Sabina, born around the time of statehood, I don't think ever set foot in this building. She was an incredible woman who lived in a small corner of rural New Mexico. And she would rise every day on a wood-burning stove and cook for an extremely large family. And she left school in the 8th grade. Her mother had died, her sister had passed away from the Spanish flu, and she was responsible for helping to care for her brothers and her dad. And I can remember early as a little boy going to see her and hearing, before the sun came up, hearing her outside chopping wood, listening to her prepare for the day. And if you have the opportunity, in this little Bible is the story and the history of a woman of incredible faith, of a woman who didn't go to high school, didn't go to college. When I told her that I had gotten into Harvard, she said, "That's nice." And she quickly reminded me, as she always did, to remember, more important than anything else, to be a nice boy. I'm still working on it. But I took from her and from her life the idea that your legacy is found in the deeds. It's found in what you give. It's not a legacy of speeches. It's not a legacy of political events and political offices. It's about the heart that you show every day for the people around you. New Mexico is an incredible, incredible place. And each of us have either come up here from centuries or found our way here in some unique way. And something about this place has got hold of you. And when Nasha and I were deciding what we were going to do with our lives and our careers and our law degrees, we made a conscious decision that we were going to give back, that we were going to do everything that we could, that we were going to fight for justice, that we were going to give a voice for people. And not just the powerful people and not just the people who can afford to come to this building and lobby for bills and work on their agenda, but for people like my grandmother, who are at this very moment heating their homes with a wood-burning stove, making a meal for their family, and believing fervently that this place will bring a better tomorrow for everyone. For everyone. The role of the Attorney General is to be a voice for all of those people, for every citizen, for every member of our community, and to make sure that we all have the opportunity to live up to our potential, to be the very best that we can be, to have a seat at the table, to have access to an education, to make sure that the extraordinary natural beauty of this place is passed along to the next generation, to make sure that we protect vulnerable people and elderly and children. I got my start as a child abuse prosecutor in Valencia County, and it absolutely changed my life. For those of you who don't know that story, I started off, as Nasha said, in the same district attorney's office that my father had started off in the 70s. And even amongst prosecutors, there are very few of us who decide to go and do work in child abuse cases because it is so incredibly difficult. And I had the opportunity to step into my very first case and work on behalf of a young boy who had been horrifically abused by his family. And when I was preparing for that trial, I called my dad, as I had many times before, thinking that he was going to give me some advice about making an argument to the jury or not making the judge angry. I'm still working on that. And instead, he reminded me and asked me if I had met Marcelino Aragon, the little boy in that case. If I had taken the time to meet with his foster family to see how he was doing. And I didn't understand at the time because Marcelino couldn't participate in that trial. But I did that. And they brought this little boy in a little baby carrier into that law library in a tiny little district attorney's office. And I could tell pretty quickly what had been done and what damage had been done. And after they scooped him up and took him home, I went outside and I called Nasha. And I told this story before. Sometimes make it through without crying. But I was crying then, and I said, I don't think I can do this job. I came back from California with a great law degree, and I was ready to be something in front of a jury. And my father reminded me that it wasn't about that. It was about being a voice for that little boy. And she reminded me that if you're not going to use your gifts and your education for him, what are you going to use it for? If you're not going to use what has been given to you, by so many people, what have you done to honor them? And so it's with that in mind that I take up this new responsibility and commit to all of you to live my life and follow my heart and make sure that the laws of this state protect us all. much I appreciate you making this day possible. Thank you.
Y'all can be seated. As we started, I want to bring closure in the way that I know best, taught to me by the people of Cochiti. This is a gift to the Attorney General of our state of New Mexico. And in this pot are several kernels from the white corn, the yellow, the red, and the blue. In our pueblos today, transition is happening in the age-old tradition of passing responsibility to the next generation of people. As they say, "Yah ikotno imatakot." We're giving the opportunity to move our people forward along our shared journey. And so in the Pueblo way, as responsibility is transferred, I want to give this to you as a reminder that as you take on this responsibility, it's a tremendously awesome responsibility to be a steward, to be a guardian, to be a caretaker, to be the voice of the most vulnerable people, whose voices must be heard as you use the gifts you have been given to protect their quality of life, to protect the environment within which we all walk upon, the earth that others before us walked upon, breathing the same air as many generations who've gone on before breathed the same air. And so, if you all share your breath one more time, as I hold this up, and just simply go. So, with the spirit of the breath of all who have come to celebrate and share in their contributions of encouragement as you take on this new role, here's our shared gift to remind you that these kernels really are the symbolic spiritual representation of all New Mexicans that you are now holding in your hands to be their protector. As this is the proper way of Pueblo protocol to say, who at the Manish Takeomi, Yanaduna, you have to call number set, Sitra, could you say Kumi, Nazi Attorney General, got Mino Hatman, Yahu Katshuan, Tata Mish the Sam. Thank you for taking the time. And just another shared wisdom of the elders. When we are called to share in something as we have come to share such a beautiful occasion, the elders teach us, do it with a sense of being totally there, mind, body, and spirit. Because when you do that, it is a shared reciprocal giving that is about the beauty of shared relationships. And so the ending prayer is to give thanks to all of you for taking the time to share your shared spirit as a contribution to the blessings as our 32nd Attorney General begins his first step today with the swearing in. And so Chita Dutra, which means blessings to all of you. May your continued journey be one with a sense of with love, with respect, with kindness, with a sense of love for one another. And if we do that, our elders teach us that it will bless us to see the beauty of what this journey is all about as human beings, because we all share these core values, and when we share and we recognize and we live with them, that's the most beautiful part of what life is to us. And so thank you all so much for your presence, and all of you are invited to Loretto for a reception. So please, just down the road, join the family in a continuation of your congratulations by your presence and a reception to share a little bit of a bite and a little bit of breaking bread together. So happy New Year to all of you. It's been my honor, Attorney General.
Thank you.